What's in your wallet? How about a way to get thousands of refugees out of Afghanistan? I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. This Right Angle is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. And gentlemen, this story comes to us from the Associated Press, where a group called Miles4Migrants, which has been around since about 2016, has received donations of airline miles and credit card points significant enough to be able to provide 40,000 flights for Afghan refugees to escape the heavy hand and perhaps the mortal threat of the Taliban, which has taken over governance in that country. Stephen Green, I find this is one of the most exciting and heartwarming stories that I've seen in a long time. We talked last week about the 95% of Afghans who, according to the United Nations World Food Program, aren't getting enough to eat. And we talked at that time about how Americans, even though they may be constrained in how their government can express its support, will act in various ways and through back channels to help. And this seems to be, Steve, one of those cases. Some of the big airlines have stepped up. United Airlines has donated some 7,000 flights. American Airlines, another 6,000. Corporations have stepped in and made contributions, and some 20,000 flights have been provided by donations of airline miles and credit card points from individuals. What do you think of this, Steve?
I love this country. I really do. I mean, the people that make it up. We're just pretty damn good people when you get down to it. Not all of us, of course. You know, we're human beings. We all have our flaws and our various virtues and all that. When you get down to it, we're just a decent people at heart, and that gets lost in all the political nonsense that we unfortunately have to deal with so much. We step up, we do things. I'm reminded of we've had two of these things now on 9/11. People running their private boats from Manhattan and Bank to evacuate people away from the falling debris and the dust and everything. It's just a miracle. Oh, I'm thinking of the in New Orleans. Is it the Gator Navy?
Yeah, where everybody showed up towing boats to pull people out. Yeah, from like hundreds of miles away.
Yeah, it's just I love this. As a Florida man, it is at his very best, helping people all over the place in the Gulf. I love this people. We're pretty dang good most of the time. What's disheartening, though, is you still have to get on the plane. The administration said that maybe 100 Americans or green card holders were left. Maybe 100 Americans were left behind. Now we're finding out it's probably closer to 300 Americans, and we don't know. Nobody knows how many green card holders. We need to get all of them out. But if you're the Taliban and somebody's going to the airport, it isn't like the United States where you show up with your ID and your ticket, and that's about it, other than getting through security. There will be questions. There will be, why are you choosing to leave our Islamic paradise and all the rest? And, oh, you are an American citizen. Well, maybe you need to sit down over there for a while. So we're faced with this dichotomy once again, where the American people are stepping up to fix the mess created by the exact same government that this exact same people put into place. We need to straighten that out, Scott. Everything will be all right.
Bill Whittle, according to official numbers, about 9,000 Afghans have been resettled in the United States. Another 53,000 are living in temporary housing at military bases in the U.S. Another 3,700 are coming in the next 10 days from bases in Europe and the Middle East. And up to 30,000 are expected to arrive in the United States over the next year or so. And that figure includes people that are still in Afghanistan. So people are able to get out. And it never occurred to me before, Bill, that when refugees are fleeing political persecution or mortal threats like the Taliban, in many cases, these people have to pay their own plane fare, and not all of them are in the tax bracket that is accustomed to air travel. So, what do you think of just people organizing? And by the way, there's two organizations here. One's called Miles4Migrants. The other is called Welcome.us. And what do you think of this idea of sort of these self-organizing groups saying, hey, here's a cool idea. There's a lot of people sitting on airline miles that they haven't used yet. Why don't we let them channel it to this purpose? And then there are Americans who've been waiting to go to Disney who say, you know what? It's more important that an Afghan escapes the threat of death than it is that I take my family to Disney this year.
I'll get to all the things I love about this, which are legion. The only one caveat that I would put into this whole thing, and I don't mean to be the guy who's poisoning the punch bowl here, but if we're going to be bringing 40,000 people in, I want to make sure they're the right people. Exactly. There are some bad people that see this as an opportunity to come to America. There's some people who are intentionally coming to America to do harm. I would just like to get it said that that kind of screening on one end or the other, just so we know we're getting the right people out. I'm going to take second place to nobody I don't mean to nobody when it comes to the moral imperative to get out the people that help this country. Those people have risked their lives, in many cases, given their lives to help this country, defend America. We owe it to them. They deserve to be here. And the only caveat in all of this is let's make sure that we're not flying over 10,000 Taliban potential terrorists in our fundamental act decency. And that is the only negative thing I have to say about this. This is exactly what this country does best. And I'm sure this is why we're taking this story. We saw it. We've seen it before. We saw Ross Perot, who basically went in, used his own money, hired his own airplanes to get people out that the government had abandoned. And we do this consistently. There's often a criticism leveled against the United States as, given your budget, your foreign aid contributions are substandard. It's like to the degree that the federal government doesn't pay as much as you may like, even though we pay virtually all of the world's government charity. Once you factor in American private charity, then there's simply nobody else on the planet. I mean, I don't know what the percentage of total charity given to the world comes from America, including private citizens, but I'd be willing to bet you it's 80% or higher. So all of this is good. It bears mentioning that going to pick up people from Afghanistan is not the same as going to pick up people from Genoa. It is a dangerous place to go, and there are risks involved. And when the Taliban realizes that this is a potential lever for money or blackmail or whatever the case may be, then they'll begin to realize they may have to pull a trigger or two to make it clear that you don't just get to walk out of Afghanistan. This is what brutal people do, and they're about as brutal as they come. But with all of these operational caveats, Scott, this is the kind of thing that shows me why I've been feeling better and better and better and better over the last several months and year. We are in a full court press of left-wing social engineering. I mean, full court press. Everything is firing. Facebook, Google, YouTube censorship, all of it. And you still cannot get around the fact that American people will go and do what the American government should have done and didn't do. We are not the government. The country is not the government. Progressives have taken over the government. They have not taken over the country. And as long as things like this happen, where people, as you put it just so eloquently and so simply, all great truth is very simple. Do we go to Disney World this year, or do we help out people we've never met before who risk their lives for this country? You know what? We go to Disneyland or next year or the year after that. This is more important. That is not something that we're doing for everybody in the world. This is something we're doing because most Americans appreciate that these people risked their lives for us, and that a lot of our sons came home because of them, and who wouldn't have otherwise. And we owe them. And the disgrace that this country suffered when the government left those people behind is being rapidly cleansed by what's happening when you let America actually do what America's supposed to do. In other words, leave it up to Americans to do it and not their government.
I find this is a fascinating expression of what has been called the virtuous cycle of free markets or free enterprise. You have people who essentially have run up airline miles and credit card points because of consumer spending, or because of business trips where they were going somewhere to sell something or to make more profits for their company. And all of this stuff that is criticized by some people as saying this is just nothing but greedy, grasping people who are taking at the expense of others. And then those same people who, used the credit card to buy a new accessory for their boat, or who took that business trip from LA to New York so that they could close that deal for $5 million for their company. Those same people turn around and they reach out their hand and they grab the dirt-stained hand of a suffering, starving person and they say, "Get on the plane. Here, can I help you with the bag in the overhead compartment? Have a seat. Would you like something to drink? Come on home." This is America. This is who we fundamentally are. This is what is enabled by our system of government and our system of social organization enabled by free markets. And this is just so beautiful that I wanted to linger over it a moment, like when you find a flower in the garden that has an aroma that just enraptures you. And I want you to enjoy it as well. I hope you share it with others. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.